cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome, Wolfpack, to the mods. Bree, Jojo. I know Carly will be in there somewhere, but we have a good show tonight, and I'm just making it a quick intro. JPL says the strawberry moon because I was thinking of you and you popped on. Well, thank you, JPL. Always appreciate you all. Tonight we have a special guest. Very special guest, actually. Very smart, talented, and I'll let you introduce himself. It's Mr. Strategic. You can call him whatever he wants to be called. And we're going to go over Tyler and Tatiana so everybody can know who the bio dad is and I think, a better mom, way better than Jen. And we're going to play some videos and get reactions, and Strategic and I are going to hang out. So, without further ado, I'm bringing Strategic up now, everybody. Hello.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing well, Mr. Strategic. Someone says, nice to meet you, T. Williams.
T. Williams. Listen, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think we're going to have a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I see some of the people here. It says I'm echoing a bit. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Let's see. We were having a little bit of issues on the back end, and I think it's a dual stream thing right now. Let me see. Strategic, you want to try the reduce mic as well? Because I could hear myself too.
Okay, let me try that out.
It's weird. It shouldn't be yours, but I'm not sure. I'll try anything.
So I just clicked it. Do I sound better?
Right. Well, I think I'm the one that has a echo, but the show must go on, folks. So, I think it's better now. Let's just try it that way. Aloha and hello, friends. Today we're talking about Maddie's family, biological family, her aunt, which I can't say her name. We'll hear it on Nancy Grace. I know she has a name that they say really fast that's Hispanic name, and I know that it's like Nettie or something like that. So it's Maddie's aunt joins Nancy Grace, and we're going to go over Tyler Wallace, the bio dad, and we have Strategic on. So what's up, Aki? You're in both chats. I can't wait to meet your sister. She seems cool. Or mod, sorry, sister/mod. All right, hello everybody. I'm going to put us over here to the side, and I'm going to pull up the video quickly, and I'll show you guys some things so you get to know who the bio dad is. Tyler Wallace. Tatiana is the stepmother, and Tyler is he was active Marines, and Tatiana was active Air Force. So while Maddie was growing up, they didn't have a lot of opportunity to be there, and I believe parental alienation is real. I've heard it many times. Never had to experience it. However, I believe that that's what they were experiencing. And my internet is really bad the last few days. I don't know why, but here we go, folks. All right, so love the flag background. Thank you. So we're going to pull this video up real quick of the vigil. Now, this is a clip of the vigil where Tatiana speaks, and Tatiana is the stepmom that really loves and loved Maddie. I streamed this entire vigil on my channel. This is just a clip of it so you can see who Tatiana is. Now, the person that we're going to talk to, that we're going to see next, is Maddie's aunt. Get this straight, folks. This is Tatiana's sister, not Tyler's sister. I know it's a lot. All right, let's go. Let's watch this real quick.
than a month since 13-year-old Maddie Soto disappeared and was then found dead. And though the prime suspect in her disappearance and death is in jail, that's the boyfriend of the teen's mother. Nobody has been arrested for the homicide still. So tonight, the community is still mourning and demanding justice for Madeline Soto. They gathered for a vigil just in the past couple of hours where her body was found last month. News 6's Catherine Silver is there live tonight. Catherine, Madeline's biological father was there this evening.
Her biological father is Tyler Wallace, and he was way too broken up to get up there and speak. He was crying the whole time. I'm surprised he even was able to do a news clip. He did an interview for like 90 minutes and they cut it out. I'll show you the 2-minute clip after just so you can see his face and know that he loved his daughter. All right.
That's right. He was here just before tonight's vigil began to place a bouquet of flowers here at the memorial for his daughter in the place where she was found more than a month ago. It was a powerful and emotional moment for Maddie's family and this community who have continued to show their care and compassion for her story. People have been placing flowers, stuffed animals, handwritten notes, so many other tokens in this place since March. One woman told me this represents hope and unity for so many who are hurting. We heard from several speakers tonight, including Maddie's stepmother.
Let us not allow.
And if you know, you know. They just showed Jenny. If anyone from the Jenny crew is here, if Millie's here or anybody from Jenny, they just showed you on the news. And Strategic, have you seen any of this? If you look up or you look on the camera, there's Tatiana right there at the vigil, which is Maddie's stepmom. So it's okay if you haven't seen it yet.
This is my first time actually seeing this, but I don't buy into this whole notion that you know, this family did not like Madeline or were not in Madeline's life, you know, in the way that they should have been. You know, I definitely think that this is a classic example of parental alienation, in my opinion. I mean, how can we think for a second that this family somehow did not like Madeline when Madeline has been a victim of a child predator since she was 8 years old? And one of I'm
going to have you, when we're done with this, I'm going to have you introduce yourself a little bit more and your background so we know where you're coming from. And I don't know if anyone else is hearing it, but I still hear you cutting in and out. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but if anybody else hears him cutting out, let me know. Michelle Donovan says you're correct. And I love having a man's opinion on this because not only do I know your background, but just your opinion is strong and it's one that that's similar to mine. So can anybody? All right, everyone says you sound fine, so go ahead and continue. You believe it's parental alienation, correct?
Right, absolutely. One of the go-to staple type of characteristics of predators, and as you said, I'll introduce myself in a second. You guys see what authority allows me to say these things, is that they alienate their victim from authority figures that could possibly help them. So if you have a young girl who's being sexually abused since she's 8 years old, it's obvious that we can assume that her predator, Stephen Stern, was doing everything in his power to destroy whatever other relationship she had that could possibly ferret out this wrongdoing that's happening to her and save her. So I think that this family loved her, but I think that the odds were against them when you had a mother like Jen Soto and a predator like Stephen Stern in her life.
Absolutely. You nailed that. If they would have had somebody that was cooperative, and remember, they were in Texas. From Texas to Florida is a long drive and a long flight. Even the flight is long. So when you get parental alienation on top of that, then you have a bad combination. Now, I know for a fact, and this is not in my opinion, that Tyler and Tatiana Wallace absolutely loved Madeline Soto, Maddie, and they would have kept her any minute that she would have wanted to go with them or could have. They would have taken her, loved her, and raised her to where she would be getting married someday and all of the above. So let's listen to a minute of Tatiana that we saw on my channel that broke down and cried. I don't know if they're going to show that here, but and then I'll bring Strategic back up and he can tell you who he is and a little bit of his background.
Fear or discomfort to silence our voices or blind us to the dangers lurking in the shadows. Our children deserve to know that they are loved, valued, and most importantly, believed. Let us teach them to recognize the warning signs, to trust their instincts, and to confide in us without hesitation. Let us empower them with the knowledge and the resilience to protect themselves and their peers.
And that is a message that was echoed by many here tonight, advocating for our children. They say that they will keep showing up for Maddie and her family, and that includes following this case and showing up as it makes its way through the court system as well. I'm live in Osceola County. Catherine Silver, Getting Results, News 6.
All right. So there was a bit of that. And now I'm going to let you go ahead and say, this is Mr. Strategic. He has a channel. And you can tell them about that, your background, and what you think about this clip. And we'll keep going after that.
I appreciate you, Ja. All right. So the channel is True Crime with Strategic. I'm sorry.
It's Jay, by the way. So
Jay,
it's okay. Everybody does that. That's okay.
I like Ja better. Put a little Jamaican twist to it.
Yeah. Oblivious Benson does that too. She calls me Chai Jai. You can call me whatever you want. Just call me, okay?
I got you, Jay. But once again, thank you for the opportunity, Jay. You have a really, really good channel, and I love your passion, and I love what you bring to, these very tough topics to cover. With the amazing introduction, it's hard for me to introduce myself after you introduced me so well, but I'm Strategic Eyes. My show is True Crime with Strategic. I have been in law enforcement for almost 20 years. Currently, right now, I'm a sex crimes investigator. I've been a police officer for around 7 years. Before that, I was a sex crimes investigator for New York State for the Department of Corrections Community Supervision, where I did inmate-on-inmate rapes and staff and inmate relationships. I've been doing sex crimes investigations for most of my adult life. This is my passion. This is what I do. On my channel, we focus on true crime. That's it. I'm trying to use my education, which is I have a social work degree with a concentration in criminal justice. I use that, my experience, to basically try and explain and do a little 5% of the good job that Jay is doing. so that's the goal of the channel, right? So right. I just hope I could bring some insight into these tough topics and situations. Oh, I just want to say one last thing.
Go for it.
One last thing, and this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say moving forward. I am an active duty police officer. I work in the state of New York for a police department in New York. I have to say that everything that I say is my own personal opinion, and it does not represent the views of any police department that I may work for. I have to say that, it is what it is, all right?
Absolutely, and we appreciate you for that. Same as me. Everything's my opinion. We're all here for entertainment purposes only, and for my opinion. That does not affect the case. Anything that I say, it's just what I think. So that being said, everybody welcomes you on my channel, and they're excited to have you. And we love collaborations here. That's what my world revolves around, is people, our people, however you say that. I think that if everybody just worked together, all of these people here tonight, there's 330 people in chat, hit that like button, would all have enough content to watch all the time, because we would just all be together doing work and doing good things. So that being said, let's put the next clip up of Tyler. And we appreciate you as an officer, any service that you do and are going to do, have done, and your knowledge. Okay, Strategic?
I appreciate it. Thank you
so
so much.
Wanted to let you know.
Before you put that clip up, can I give a quick shout out to somebody in the chat?
Absolutely. Go for it.
You had one of your viewers, Lauren _WI. She says she's a SA nurse here. We call them Safe Sane Nurses in New York. I just got to give a big shout out to her, because we work hand in hand with those individuals. They have a tough job, and our cases are solved because of their professionalism and their ability to get that evidence from that victim in their highest moment of victimhood. And I have nothing but respect for Safe Sane Nurses. Thank you for your service, Lauren.
Yeah, that's great. I put her up there. I actually threw that on up so she can say hello. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw, so hello, Lauren, and thank you for your service, Lauren. And then it looks like Wisconsin or something.
Yes.
But yeah, we appreciate you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show the quick clip that we've seen. If you guys have been into my channel for a really long time, you've seen all the Tyler and Tatiana things, but this is the video of Tyler Wallace traveling to this vigil. So this is before the vigil. Hopefully the sound plays. Hold on. That's why it'd help if it wasn't muted.
Exclusive interview with Tyler Wallace. Good evening.
That's as
I'm
loud as it goes,
Madeline
folks.
Jones, investigative reporter Shannon Butler sat down with him to talk about his daughter, her death, and the man investigators have called the prime suspect.
That's as loud as it goes,
In the
folks.
studio with us, and Shannon, quite an interview.
Yeah, Tyler Wallace did not put.
Dang it.
I could ask him, but he did ask one thing of me, to talk about why he had no idea his daughter was going through what she was and why he doesn't want other dads to suffer with the same regrets. Tyler and Tatiana Wallace saw Madeline Soto in October of last year.
I've always wanted to see her more.
We're supposed to have so much more.
Tyler and Tatiana Wallace saw Madeline Soto in October of last year, and they had no idea it would be the last.
She meant everything to us.
The couple kept in touch, paid child support, and gave a little extra for things like flute lessons. But because they lived thousands of miles away from Madeline and finances were tight, they rarely saw her. Was there something that concerned you? Was there a sign? Did you think something was wrong?
No, not really, no. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just wish she would have told me. We had her in October. We had her in October. And I just wish she would have told me. I would have taken her away from that.
It's something that will haunt her father forever.
She could barely speak. Both of them are broken up. I know it's low, but that's as loud as the news is going to go, folks, without me playing another channel and being all split up. So just know that they were being, remember they have a, Jenny is their advocate. And so we're having trouble even communicating with anybody. And you saw that right now, her hair was in her face. She looked all out of sorts. So if you can't hear the rest of this, turn it up. And I do say, I hear echoing on my side too. Sorry about that.
Wish I could have seen her more. I wish I could have had her more. And I struggle with that. I will always struggle with that.
Tyler told us that Stephen Stearns was in Madeline's life for at least 5 years. He didn't know him well, but had no reason to believe that he would soon be arrested, accused of sexual battery, and with having dozens of graphic recordings. And now there are so many questions about what happened and why.
I don't know yet the whole story, and it's painful to be in that state of waiting to understand how I feel. But the truth is, I don't know how I feel yet. It's hard. It's flip-flopping and speculating, and that's difficult. That takes a toll on you. And that's why I'm just trying to grieve privately with my family and process this loss for us. And I do want support from the public, but I don't feel right sending mobs and pitchforks. I want to focus on Maddie and her loss and what I could have done better.
And so I'm playing this at the beginning so everybody could just get this out of the way, see it, hear what we have to say, and not put stuff in my chat or in my comments that will get removed if you start calling names. Somebody said something the other day and it gets instantaneously removed, folks. So don't waste your time. Tyler Wallace was the best dad that he could be. Much better than my dad, I'll tell you that much. So if that means anything.
You
can add me to that list too.
Helping other
yeah, exactly.
struggling to have relationships
right.
with children.
And Tyler will continue to fight for answers and try to find a way to move on. Maddie's not here to speak for herself. You are here to speak for her. What do you want people to know after all this is said and done? There's probably a few things.
It's not fair.
Wait, can you pause
Life
this real quick?
isn't fair. You know,
Absolutely.
I love my little girl.
There you go. Sure, let's go for it.
What you're looking at right now is genuine loss, sadness, pain. the exact
Yep.
opposite of what you see when Jen Soto was speaking to cops during body-worn camera interviews, during news channel interviews, the ones that we've all seen already. This is what you're supposed to look like when your child is missing and your boyfriend has a story that keeps changing. That's what you're supposed to look like. So just keep that in mind for your audience.
And this is
It's
why
true
I
grief.
wanted you on here. I heard you. I've been watching your stuff on this topic, and I said I need this man on here to speak as well because your opinion is very valid and it's facts. Like he says, just facts, straight up. So yeah, remember that when you see the Jen Soto, all of her interviews that she's done, not even an ounce of this, folks. Well, she consoles Stephen Stearns. Then I see a little bit of heartbreak for her, but all right.
We were patient. We were taking our time. By our belief, we were doing everything right. And it just happened like this. And there's no the rest of her life. There's no the back half. There's no making up for it. There's no improving. It's just done now.
On Friday, we told you he was
Yep,
trying to
that's
get
what I said.
Maddie's ashes to bring home. His attorney did get those ashes from Jen Soto. Actually, he and his family are headed back home with those ashes and a whole lot of heartache, darling.
That's the least she could do.
Incredible reporting.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that she did.
Mhm.
I'm gonna show up one more thing and you can comment on it too. It's the Tyler and Tatiana. It's their TikTok, just so people can see the a lot of pictures when she was little and stuff like that. There is there's so many of them. Maybe I'll just pull up the pictures that I downloaded. I just want you to see and everybody to see that he was there as much as he possibly could be. And then we'll move on from that. And then we're going to talk about and play the and strategic. You speak up whenever you want. That's what you're here for. All right. So this might be the part 2 with Tatiana. Let's see what we got here.
This is the second part of the interview that Tyler Wallace and Tatiana Wallace gave to Channel 9. And you can see that this couple was devastated by the death, unfortunately, of their daughter. What are you guys waiting for? It's almost 2 months.
I've always wanted to see her more.
We're supposed to have so much more.
Tyler and Tatiana Wallace saw Madeline Soto in October of last year, and they had no idea you would be the last.
She meant everything to us.
The couple kept in touch, paid child support, and gave a little extra for things like flute lessons. But because they lived thousands of miles away from Madeline and finances were tight, they rarely saw her.
Was there something that concerned you? Was there a sign? Did you think something was wrong? Not really, no. I didn't know.
So sad.
I didn't know.
Okay, I guess we got this part. All right, I have some pictures. We're going to stop that because I don't feel like digging around while you're here. But let me pull the pictures up real quick. Just I want everybody to see that they were there as much as they could. And yeah, just like you said, and me, better than my dad. My dad was a deadbeat and he didn't even try. So there's that. And then when he did, he didn't agree with certain lifestyle choices, we'll say. And that was that. So, all right. So there's some pictures and you can tell me what you think of that. I mean, beautiful angel and heartbreaking. Look at, she's little. You can see her looking at her dad the way she does. I don't know if that's a fake nose piercing, but I noticed she has it in when she's with them.
Right.
So if you have any comments about those or anything to say.
Yeah, I mean, these are such complex stories, and situations. There's so much that goes into this. Yeah, I think the easy way is for spectators to say, well, you could have done more. But let's be honest here. Number one, Maddie was a teenager. You can't force a teenager to do something they don't want to do. Number two, Maddie has been indoctrinated. She's been groomed. She's been brainwashed for her entire life. All right. And I don't know anything personal about these families, but I've seen these stories play out time and time and time again. The father clearly had a very short relationship with the mother and then moved on rather quickly with another woman. I know that there was resentment there. there had to be anger and resentment. And what happens? What do a lot of women and even men do when they're in these situations? They use the child as a tool against the parent. So I believe, my opinion, that the mother was using Maddie as a tool to get back at the father. The fact that they lived in Texas and Maddie lived in Florida, that is a big deal, because not only do you have to find your way financially to Florida, but you have to also fight your case in Florida. You have to hire an attorney in Florida. Even if you represent yourself, you have to fly back and forth for these court hearings. You know what happens? Human nature makes you say, forget it. Forget it. Especially when you have a child that may actually be playing by the script of the parents that are brainwashing her. Now, I don't know. I don't have any details on it, but I just know for a fact, based off of my experience, that this father could not force Maddie to come spend time with him more than what they were already doing. Just like this father could not force Maddie to admit to him her deepest and greatest shame, which is what Stephen Stearns was doing to her. And, you know, for people to believe that these family members, this father and his wife, should have known what was happening, that's ludicrous. The only person who should have known what was happening was Jen Soto, because Jen Soto was the person in the house when it was happening, and Jen Soto was the one who was sending her daughter to the bedroom to sleep with a predator. When we talk about this more, I looked up some of the charges, and we're going to get into what she could possibly be charged with.
We're absolutely going to get into what she could be charged with. And I just talked to the roommate today, and I found out Jen can't be that stupid, y'all. Everybody that says, oh, naysayers, I didn't realize that that Jen Soto was a substitute teacher at Maddie's same school at some point. So if you think she's dumb and doesn't know things or whatever, that, you know, everybody's like, oh, she looks like she's missing a few, or she was too drugged up. Think again, folks. We will talk about the possibilities of what she can be charged with and what she probably will be. Just because it's been 6 months doesn't mean anything. And strategic will tell us that it takes time to build a case. So
it does. And one more thing, Jay.
I love your perspective.
Because she was a substitute teacher, she has training in mandated reporter. She has training in how to identify abuse in children. She has that training. You can't go into a classroom unless you understand those things, because you could be criminally charged if you know about abuse and you don't report it because you're a mandated reporter. She has experience with that. So, I mean, that information you got from a roommate just digs her grave just a little bit more.
It absolutely does. And I was glad that she brought that to me today. And next week she wants to come back on because she needs to give her reaction now that she knows. Now that the paperwork's out. She was at first kind of, the family got offended a little when she came on and was like, well, when I lived there, Jen was a good mom. She seemed to, the only thing that was weird was that they all slept in the bed together, all three of them. And we knew this before the paperwork ever came out. So we know she's credible. She knows the layout of the house before it came out, all that. So that being said, I'm sure that her being a substitute teacher, and you nailed it. They give you that training and they tell you if, you know, you see something, say something type of thing, but more than that. So yeah, you're spot on there. And that's why I wanted you on tonight. So let me bring this down, and beautiful pictures, folks. Little Maddie, you can see how little she was when Tyler and Tatiana got together. So Jen Soto and Tyler didn't last long. It was really quick. She got pregnant. Jen's crazy. We know that. She would check herself into mental hospitals and whatever. And this beautiful little angel's been with her and him, who are active military, by the way, at the time. So not only did they live in Texas, they were flying all over the world to serve the country. Okay.
Now I got to say something real quick.
Yeah, please.
Now I don't shame women. It's not my thing. I'm not interested in that. But if I'm Jen Soto and I see him move on with that beautiful G.I. Jane over there, I might get a little jealous too. You know, she's a very beautiful woman.
Yeah. There's where the spite comes in, right? Yeah, and Maddie just, oh God, that was a beautiful baby. She was such, I have a 9-year-old, and I know you have kids, and you remember when they were that little and you held them and they just needed you.
Precious.
Yeah, absolutely precious. So yeah, Daddy, her and Daddy were twins. Pissed off Jen. That's another thing. She looked a lot like her dad.
Right.
So moving on, we appreciate everybody's comments. We have 554 people in chat. Don't forget to hit that like. When you're done here, definitely go to Strategic's channel, because you're going to have a lot more great content to watch if you do, because we want content that's relevant, that has facts and not drama. That's what we're looking for here. And I know everybody on this channel, that's what you're looking for. All right. So I'm going to pull up the next video. And well, the next one is the only video we're going to go over tonight, is the details on this, on Maddie's final hours. And the aunt that's on, remember, is Tatiana's sister, and we'll hear her name. So now you know about Tyler Wallace, folks. Please share this so people can really know what the heck is going on. And I appreciate your comments, Strategic. It really, I think some people collaborate well, and I think you're the yin to my yang tonight. So thank you.
It's an honor, Jay. It's an honor.
Yeah. It's just you have the experience and the knowledge, and I appreciate that. It just comes natural to some. All right.
Soto, just 13, now believed to be dead when she is actually buckled in with a seatbelt in the car of her mom's.
Now, everybody, trigger warning. Nancy Grace says whatever she wants, and she says all kinds of crazy words. So if your ears are sensitive or you have some kind of anything going on, just trigger warning. All right. So it's Nancy Grace, and Tatiana's sister is going to be on here talking about the case.
Boyfriend. That's right.
And before we start, Strategic, do you have anything to say about this before we start? We'll pause and make commentary. So if you have something to say while it's playing, feel free to. I stop and comment. We're doing reaction videos here.
Absolutely. Got you.
All right. All right, cool.
Is she actually buckled in dead and he's driving around with her? Because when you look very carefully at Granny's surveillance video, she's tilted over to one side, her head is over, and her mouth is open. Is this, after years of sex abuse by mommy's live-in? I'm just trying to take.
I want to ask your opinion on this, Strategic. Some people are saying that maybe she wasn't passed then or whatever because of the way she was positioned. The cops wrote it in their report, and they truly believe she was already gone by then. What do you think? Do you think that you trust that they were, or she was just so drugged up that her mouth was open? And I mean, do you have an opinion on that?
I think she was dead. Without knowing because you guys have that 800 and change page report. I guarantee that's not everything. That doesn't include the investigative notes. A lot of that is summarizing the investigative steps. And so what the people who created that document, they actually have intimate knowledge of every single investigative step and every single piece of evidence that actually made them come to that conclusion. And the only time you see the totality of that is during the trial. So when we look at that, the exhaustive document that you guys have access to, don't think that's everything. It's not everything. All right. It's basically just a guidepost of where the trial is going to go and what they're going to bring against this defendant. So I 100% believe what the police are saying, because they didn't just make that because that's what they feel or what they think. There's going to be hard evidence that says she was dead at that moment.
Right. Agreed. All right. I had to stop on that because I know that was there was a conflict there, and I heard other people saying other things about it, and I was like, no. And then we started talking about the timing of the rigor setting in and what time. I think that we narrowed it down to that he did that Stephen Stearns took her life. So when that comes up again, I might say it, but I already said closer to the morning.
Right.
Plus, we also have to wait. What I can determine from our own.
What was that?
I'm so sorry. We also have to wait for the autopsy.
No, good.
The autopsy hasn't come out yet.
It's not going to probably either. We're because
it's going to come out during trial. during trial it will come out. I don't know if it'll come out publicly, but it'll definitely make it
It's
into
not
the
gonna.
trial. Mhm.
It will get leaked, but it publicly because she's a child in Florida. From what I hear,
Okay.
by law, we're never going to hear it. But I
Mhm.
think that's not true because we're already starting to hear that she got strangled, and we weren't supposed to know that either.
That's
So
very true. Mhm.
yeah. So I mean, they could give us a range
Mhm.
of timing based on what she looked like in the morning when she was in the car, etc. So yeah, we will find out. And you're 100% right. As trial comes, folks. All right. Perfect.
Investigation here at Crime Stories. That sex abuse by mommy's boyfriend started around the time little Maddie was just 8 years old. I am learning now from a treasure trove of state's documents that the night before Maddie, just 13 years old, went missing, translation, murdered. The night before she goes missing, her mother sent her to bed with the live-in so mommy could get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. What a
Good
mom.
evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
All right, we don't want to get taken down for
Stop it. Stop it. I know it's your natural reaction to look at the person speaking. That would be Maddie's mother speaking. But I want to play that one more time because the guy that hands over the cell phone is the live-in. Oh, let me clarify. He's not really a live-in because he spends half of his time living with his parents at his age and the other half of the time bunked up at Maddie's home.
And by the way, strategic, I'll even add to that he hadn't been there for over a month. And that was the first night he came back right after Maddie's birthday, lying in wait for the sister to drop her off. And then he gave her a bedtime shower and pills. And Jen comes right home from work and sends them to another room. So keep that in mind.
When I hear that, it sounds so weird to me. What 13-year-old needs you to get them ready for bed? Like, think about that, because I've heard that from so many different channels. I've heard that from the news. I've heard that from a 13-year-old does not need you to prepare them for bed.
Absolutely not.
Just the notion sounds predatory.
Doesn't it? That's the best way to say it. And you're the best person to say it, knowing what you know. That does sound predatory. It doesn't. Weird. I would use the word weird, but predatory is a better term for what is going on.
Yeah.
That's absolutely just ludicrous to even hear that. And I know, like you do, that when those police heard those words, they were thinking predator alert going on.
Oh yeah.
All the love, we love her, and she gives us joy, and all these things.
She likes to sleep in a bed with us. She has anxiety and she has to sleep and cuddle. The moment we talk like that, I'm like, okay, Then I'm like, yo, give me 1 second. You want some water? Then I'm going out with my lieutenant. I'm like, yo, this guy's guilty.
Yes. Cheers for you. Exactly. When you hear Mickey Mouse speaking, you hear that tone drop, 10 notches, and they sound like they're scared. They shit their pants, right? You're already at red flag coming up. Yeah, we love this guy too. I knew this would be a good collab here. He knows what he's talking about, and he sees it all the time. So when you got Mickey Mouse like that and Jen's big bulgy eyes that scared out of her mind too. Red flags, folks. Past tense. All right, let's watch this. This guy is just holding her cell phone. I think this is the clip
with Maddie and her mother. So I know you want to look at the mother because she's speaking, but I want you to look at him now. Remember, you just heard the sheriff, who's an incredible sheriff, John Mina, and he's saying that the boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, dropped Maddie off that morning at school. No, he didn't. When I heard day one that she got dropped off at the Peace United Methodist Church and not school, and there was confusion about where she got dropped off, right there, you know what? I know where I drop my children off. I know where they get out of the car. How come he did it? Why was there confusion about that? That's a whole nother can of worms. If you don't mind, control room, please, I want to hear that again, and look at him. The girl's missing. And he's like, hey, can I bum a cig off you? He's just like so chill. Not worried
Both
at
of them.
all. Then I found
Both
out
of them.
later that morning when everyone is running around trying to find Maddie, he says he's zonked out on sedatives because of his anxiety.
Yeah, that's a big red flag too. After everything happened that morning, he was so anxious he had to take sedative. So we'll listen to that. This is funny. I'm glad she's playing the clip again because I didn't want that beginning part. But Nancy is funny. And Nancy, we love you, but I don't think you know the case even as well as we do. Sorry.
I bet. Okay, let's watch that one more time. Thanks.
So she was supposed to be dropped off at school, didn't make it to school.
Didn't make it to school. I went to pick her up from school today,
Okay.
and she never came out. They announced it over the speaker, and I'm just like, maybe she walked here because sometimes she'll walk here to this office.
Mm-hmm.
I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also messaged her teacher, and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either.
Okay.
So she never made it.
Okay. What's her name?
Madeline, Madeline.
Madeline. Last name?
Soto. Soto.
Soto.
Yeah.
I just want to.
All right. On that note, what do you think, Strategic?
All right. So can you go back real quick so we just get a still of
Yeah,
them
absolutely.
together?
Instead of her. Yeah. Right there.
Let's go back a little bit more. I just want to get his hands.
Hold on. Yeah. I mean,
holding hands. First of all, this whole interaction was really weird with like that. You
that's
can leave
him
it there.
holding out the phone. Yeah, he's holding out the phone. He stands there for a while like this too.
Time. Really weird like that, because you see her talking. Most people would put the phone in their pocket, put the phone to their side. But I think the reason why he did that, as well as the folding of the arms, is he's listening intently on what she's saying. When you're and we know now that he's lying. We all know that, obviously, right? So, but going back to that moment when nobody knows what's going on, he's listening to every single thing that Jen is saying so that he can either mirror it or have a counter to it or mesh it and weave it into his own lie. So when his hand is out there, it's not just him being weird and inappropriate for the moment. Yes. It's him thinking. Like, remember, we think we can multitask, but sometimes our brain freezes when you're under a lot of stress and pressure. He's frozen right now because 90% of his brain power is going towards what's coming out her mouth. Now, some people, such as myself, believe he's thinking, is she on script? Because I think she knows what happened, and I think she needs to go to jail because I think she's complicit in this. But even if you don't believe that, if you don't think that she knows anything and she's, doesn't know where her daughter is legitimately,
or just still repeating a story. She's still repeating his story. Right. That's still against the law.
Story. Either way, he's listening to see what is she saying. This guy is lying at the, I don't even know how to say it, like on the fly. He's lying on the fly. He's got to get all that information. He's got to process that information. He's got to spit it out in a convincing manner. And that's why he's frozen like that. And that's why he's sitting there like this. Hands folded the whole time. And guess what? That's body language that we're trained to look at. Why are your hands folded?
Tell me something. When you're talking to somebody and you're apprehending a suspect, or you don't even know it's a suspect, and they just have an excuse for an excuse of an excuse, are your red flags coming up already?
It's a red flag. It's a red flag when he's saying, I dropped her off a mile away from school, or and as she was walking, I saw her go in her bag, but I thought that it was no big deal because she was probably reaching for her AirPods to put in the ear. Nobody deals with details like that.
Right.
Because that's an irrelevant detail. It's not like it's something that would help you find her. The details you're trying to fish for in your brain is, do I have her clothing down to the T? What's the color shoes she wore that day? The pants, the shirt. These are things that are going to help you find somebody who's missing. Which direction did she walk? Not, we were going to get the McDonald's, but then she wanted a McFlurry instead of a McChicken, and then we decided not to get that after all, so we drove around the corner 3 times, and then these are irrelevant details that are there simply to throw off the investigator, because that's who he's talking to. Before he spoke to all of us, he's speaking to the cops. But
you're already trained. You're trained in that.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
We're trained in that, and that's why it didn't work out for him. That's why immediately Before they knew what was on his
immediately.
phone, he was prime suspect number 1 because of
There
his
you go.
actions.
And at that, let's listen to what Nancy has to roast him. You're absolutely right. And if we were playing this whole video, he would be standing here for like 30 seconds. This would actually be her talking and him just standing there with his hand out, which is now we know he's the murderer and the person that's been assaulting her for years. So, and you could see everybody's eyes are on him because by the way, nobody in the family welcomes him at all. So
Right.
you
And
can see
nobody
how
believed him. None of these people are dumb. The only person who's under his spell is Jen Soto.
Exactly.
Nobody else has any type of loyalty or commitment to this man. So they're listening to his story with the same fresh ears that we listen to it. And they're like, and probably with more passion because they love Madeline. And they're like, this sounds bullshit to me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse.
No, you're good. You can cuss if you want. Yeah, it is bullshit, and they're the ones that made the 911 calls, and I think that is a big deal. Some people say it's not a big deal that she didn't call. No, she was in the background feeding them not even the right information while they were on the phone, pissed off. The grandma was irritated. It's how I would be like, what are you doing? I'd be mad if 911 there was no urgency. These two didn't have urgency. So
and I think it was a big deal. It was a big deal. The only instance that I would believe it wouldn't be a big deal is if they happened upon an imaginary story. They came home and Madeline was dead in the residence. That trauma might make them, I can't call, there's other people there. You make the call. I'm so shocked. I'm so devastated what I'm seeing. But at this point, she's just a missing child. And a parent should not be so distraught that they can't call 911. That doesn't make sense.
And she wasn't. You could hear her in the background, just kind of. She was probably walking by or something, but it wasn't her being distraught because we saw her talk. We're seeing her talk now, and we've seen her talk 2 other times. So that's in my opinion not the case. All right, let's hear it. Let's keep going.
To walk here to this office. I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also messaged her teacher and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either.
Okay.
So she never made it.
Okay. What's her name?
Madeline. Madeline.
Madeline. Last name?
Soto. Soto.
Soto.
Yeah.
And before Nancy says she wants to strangle her, the only other thing I have to say is, I do too. You don't email somebody when you're when you're having an urgent moment. By the way, nobody emails somebody on an urgent moment. That's like saying I sent her a letter because I wanted to know where Maddie was. That's
right. Or you're in a line to pick up your daughter and she's not coming out and you say, oh, let me leave because I don't want to hold up the line. I'm parking on a sidewalk.
Utter bullshit. I would have drove up to the front door and been like, where's my daughter? I need answers now. Yeah.
So we're going to pull off because we don't hold up the line and then we're going to send an email. Come on.
Yeah.
And I know you want to continue with the video, but just one more thing, Jay.
Yeah, go for it.
The man strangles your daughter in your house while you're there and you don't wake up at any point when he's carrying a dead body down the stairs. You don't know any of this stuff. Come on, let's be serious here.
Yeah,
I don't buy it.
I'm with you, and that's why I wanted to hear your opinion.
Just went around his neck. How dare he even stand there like that? Guys, with me an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now, including Shannon Butler, investigative reporter, WFTV9 in Florida in this jurisdiction. But first, I'm going to go to a very special guest joining us. It's Terina Niles. This is a very dear member of the family related to Maddie Soto's bio dad wife. So they're seeing it from a different angle because they're seeing it from dad's angle. Terina, thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it.
All right, folks, remember that name. It's Terina, and it's Tatiana's sister, Maddie's aunt. That entire family loved Maddie. All right. I couldn't think of her name. All right. I should have wrote it down.
You know, in the last days, I've been reading all the new headlines, and we went further and there's a 900-page document that I have been, wading through. And I've got to tell you, it just made my heart stop. And I understand that you and Maddie's bio dad are reeling at the new information. Which aspect of the new information just released is the most concerning to you?
I think the biggest aspect has been the timelines that, you're ready to hear, but you're never ready to hear. And so seeing those kind of lay out and essentially a lot of my family and I, we haven't read through the documents, but I have seen quite a bit from social media, and it's just devastating. And the description of how she was found and just things of that nature, you're never ready to hear something like that, especially when it's somebody that you've watched grow up, and it's truly devastating.
And love.
All of it.
Teresina, everyone joining us is a special guest, Maddie's aunt, Teresina Niles. I don't think that you should be hard on yourself at all. Do you know, to this day, today, I have never gone to the scene where my fiance was murdered. Why?
All right. And on this note, I think she's talking about her not going to the memorial or the vigil. So just so everybody knows, we played part of this clip. So Teresina is the aunt, and Tyler went and Tatiana went, but the Soto family was very absent. Just so you know.
That makes sense to me, though, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of pain there. And sometimes, even if they're thinking wrong, they might come to some consensus that we might be a distraction if we come, because at the end of the day, it's not just people here in this forum or myself who think that Jen should go to jail. There's a lot of people out there that feel that way. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I can see that conversation in the Soto family happen in the background, where they're like, we don't want to be a distraction. And from my reading of this and the information that I've gathered, and I got to say, I don't have all the information. Some of you guys have way more information than me.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I think that the Soto family love Maddie. And I've heard that the Soto family did not like Stephen Stern. And
Absolutely.
so they aren't to be held culpable for what happened to Maddie. I think the only people that should be held accountable are Jen Soto and Stephen Stern. So, it is what it is. It's my opinion.
And your opinion, and we're going to talk about that when we're done with this, as we wind down, when this is over, about what she could be charged with, because everyone just needs to know, and I want them to hear it from you. I've been saying it, and I think there are 3 charges that, like, just with her telling the police what happened in that story that she told them and made it nonchalant. Oh yeah, I sent him to bed like it was just normal. So we'll talk about that after. Let's listen to Teresina for a minute and send love to the Wallace family and Teresina and all of those folks that love Maddie.
Because it would just put me back at square one. I'd start all over again. I mean, sometimes it's just too much to take in. I've just been thinking so much about what I'm hearing, especially the allegation that Maddie was being molested by this guy as young as age 8. And I bet anything she never said a word to her dad about it.
No.
Yeah. Why would you?
We wouldn't be, like, none of this would have happened if we even had an inkling. So I think that was another, thing from the documents. Once we saw how many other of her friends and people didn't know either, and it doesn't take the pain away or the guilt that's there, but it does show that, like, nobody knew that closest.
That's kind of a sickening picture for me to see now, just knowing that, she's over there smiling. She doesn't look like she's uber high or like what people are saying about Jen. She was just so out of it. She, and so enchanted by Stefan. It disgusts me that she couldn't look at her daughter and see, or who did the laundry, who took her to her appointments. You have to go to appointments when you're a young girl, and we know she was already starting her menstrual cycle, which we won't talk about that. But the signs that a mother see with a daughter, she either missed it or she wanted to miss it. Right? I mean, what do you think?
I mean,
you have kids, and there's a mom somewhere, right?
Yeah, of course. My beautiful wife, she's amazing. But I can tell you what, she's a real mother. If she suspected me or anybody else did anything to my children, she would turn us in, and rightfully so. I can't think for a second that this could be happening for such a protracted amount of time and Jen never get an inkling that it's happening. All right. It just, at the age, like I came across information where Stefan was kind of using a cell phone or access to YouTube or whatever, a iPad, to get Maddie to do
Yep.
we all know pretty
Favors.
much favors. Yeah.
Yeah.
At that stage, she didn't even know that it was wrong. And when a child doesn't know that it's wrong, why are they going to keep that a secret? They're going to sometimes say things that are odd. They're going to act in behaviors that we would all know that something's wrong. You can't tell me that Jen did not come across behaviors or statements from this little girl that would give her some pause and make her think for a second, you know what? I should look deeper into this. I honestly believe that they're sitting on some evidence. From what I see with this police department down there, they're not rushing for us. They don't care about the court of public opinion. They don't give a damn about that. All right. They're moving at their own tempo. They're gathering their evidence. They know that the only child that was endangered by Jen is her own child who's no longer here. So there's no need for them to rush. There's no imminent danger of another child being abused by Jen Soto or even Stefan Stern because he's currently locked up. So I think that charges are going to come because the law has so many little charges they can give her with. We were thinking about life in prison. I mean, they could just give her a couple of years,
Hey,
So,
I'm happy with the neglect of 5 to 7 or whatever Florida is.
Right. So I think she knew. And I think the more that they dig, the more they're going to get evidence that supports that. And I don't know. I mean, this is just such a tough case. It's so sad because if one person would have found out outside of Jen and Stefan, she'd still be alive today. She'd need a lot of therapy, but she'd still be alive.
And that's the whole point, is she'd still be alive to grow up, to make her mistakes, to go to therapy, to even if she became an alcoholic for a period and went to rehab, whatever it was, she'd be able to do it. And now she doesn't get the opportunity to.
And I got to say, from my experience, when victims have strong support circles, and it doesn't have to just be family, just the state, offering them the services that they need, they do have good outcomes. So when we see the alcoholics or the drug addicts or whatever, or the reoffenders, because sometimes victims become offenders, unfortunately, those are people who have not been treated. Those are people who did not get the help that they need. When victims get help, they make it through. They live beautiful, honest lives. There is hope if you're a victim.
Absolutely. And most people prefer to be called survivors, which I realized the other day. So yeah, victims become survivors as they see it through. And unfortunately, Maddie's not here to do that because those eyes that are next to Maddie weren't watching her. They were paying attention to Stefan Stearns and consoling him. All right, let's watch this and we'll talk some more.
To her, and it really is devastating, other than the people that did know, I guess.
Ms. Niles, did you guys have any idea that the mother was just basically sending Maddie off to sleep with the boyfriend at night?
Not at all. Not at all.
I just,
so all of this is
take that
news.
in. How is Maddie's dad reacting to all this? He must be devastated.
Poor thing.
It's been difficult to just see my brother-in-law Tyler and my sister Tatiana just go through any of this, just because they loved her so deeply, and it's incomprehensible. I truly can't even find the words to convey the devastation that I'm witnessing and seeing and reading.
And when you look at that picture there, that's one that was pretty stunning to me. She was thinning out, getting taller than Jen. And every picture you see with Stefan Stearns, Maddie and Jen, all eyes were on Maddie at all times. So if you don't feel that, something's wrong also.
Right, right. And I think this picture is also indicative of her demise because she's becoming a young woman and she's no longer useful to a child sex offender like Stephen Stern, a pedophile. They don't want teenagers. They don't want young women, you know, and a lot of times these guys will either distance themselves once they've had their fill of their survivor, or they'll kill them.
Right. Right. And that's from strategic to your ears, folks. He has the experience and the know-with-all, whatever, to say that. And we've said that before. And just hearing you say that strategic is very powerful. And I believe that as well. You like what you like, and those guys like what they like. And she was almost taller than Jen. She was filling out. She had I'm sure she talked back by then and probably had her eyes on other relationships, boyfriends, what have you. In the other video, he was cracking his knuckles when they brought up the possibility of a boyfriend.
Right. And what also occurs is the child starts to realize that what happened to them is, unnatural and unlawful. And they may not be ready to move forward with criminal charges or even because there's a lot of shame that comes with it as well. So they may not even want to tell anybody. But what does happen is the talk back, like, I know what you did to me is wrong. Or, go to bed. You can't tell me to go to bed. What if I told what you did to me? Those threats are also what sometimes culminate in, well, I'm going to get rid of this person, or no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I heard theories that, maybe she didn't take her medication that night, theories that maybe she was aware and she told him no and stop. And that's probably what made him go over the top. But at this age, there's so many variables that could have contributed to her demise. But I think it's probably her saying no more. And the possibility of her telling, this guy's not dumb. He reads the news. He knows that Florida passed a law saying that if you sexually abuse a child below the age of 13, you get the death penalty. That's a very big incentive to try and kill your witness.
Right. Big. You heard it, folks. You heard it. And I believe that too. I believe that the whole time. She aged out, and I believe something went wrong that night because she either fought back, said, no, I'm going to tell, or I'm done. And if he got caught, and you nailed it, that law right there. But I do think I don't think that it was premeditated. I don't think he planned it because it was so poorly executed. I think maybe he knew that he wanted to do that because he made that visit for some reason. He was no longer with Jen. He came there for her birthday, but he did have some weird things with him. They found gloves. They found a gun on the list. So maybe he planned to do it, but it was executed very poor, and he got caught changing a flat tire, and that's where they found the body.
Right. And
So,
with these guys,
very sloppy.
With these guys, Jay, what you're saying makes perfect sense. But also keep in mind, they think they're the smartest people in the room, but they're not. So his poor execution might have been the best that he could possibly muster. But if you asked him, he probably thought it was the greatest plan on the planet. I'm going to pretend like I dropped off over here, whatever. But they think they're the smartest in the room, but they're not. They're not.
Right.
And part of that is that their little narcissism that comes with being able to do the things that they're doing.
I didn't even think about it that way. And you're right. He probably did think he had it in the bag. No one was going to look at Mickey Mouse. He's such a good stepfather of the year. He loved her, and look at how he doted on her. But officers see it a different way. They've seen it a million times like you have. And when you see something like that, again, not even not even a boyfriend. It was an ex-boyfriend that was in and out for many years. He was dating another girl just recently that reported that he said he got wood. He got wood with her in bed, and the lady broke up with him immediately because of that. Like, why would you say that? Was that okay? Maybe she had a daughter, and he was like, well, some women will give their, sacrifice their lambs.
Right. And how do you get to break that barrier, right? The barrier of giving you access to my daughter. Well, they feel you out. So that's what he did. He felt her out. Now, if she'd have said, for real? Oh my gosh, then he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got one. I wonder
Right.
what Jen Soto's response was to him saying something in that vein to feel her out. That's usually how it works. That comment is made in order to open the door and see if he can do more.
I agree. I think that when I heard that comment about him getting wood and turn around, I thought he was trying to fill her out. And I bet that's what he did with Jen. Jen probably told them all about her anxiety, which they bonded over. They both got gastric sleeve. So already there, they were taking pills. Yeah, they were both overweight and they got the gastric sleeve. And when that happens, you also get pills for the pain, etc. They were bonding, and she probably gave him access fairly quickly, in my opinion. He was already working his way in. 99 pink balloons. Thank you. It says if a child tells mom and mom doesn't believe her, the child's not going to tell anyone else. Why would somebody believe me if my own mom didn't? Correct.
That's a fact.
And that's not only that, but I mean, that was 5 years in close proximity, all in the same area, sleeping all together, and then sending her to the room. If she's not seeing it, who else is not seeing it, right? If the mom's the number one person that should have. So, poor Maddie. That's all I can say. I can't. I can't say enough.
This case is so disgusting that, and first of all, what your commenter said is so true. And we come across that a lot, where parents don't believe their children. But in this particular case, it didn't even have to be, even though it could have, that she spoke to the mother and said, this happened to me. The mother's very actions, and I think you alluded to this, Jay, the very action of allowing your daughter or sending your daughter to sleep with the abuser could be construed to the child of, you know about this and you're helping facilitate this. There's no hope. There's no hope of me getting out of this, because why would you send me into the lion's den? Why are you sending the lamb into the lion's den? So I think in this situation, just the omission, just the negligence of the mother's actions was enough to give the same exact signal to the child as if she went to mom and said, hey, he's doing something to me. And mommy said, I don't believe you.
Exactly. And that could have happened as well. And we may never find out, because Jen's not going to talk. That's for sure. She sure didn't show up to the funeral, the memorial, the vigil, or anything else. And she's definitely lawyered up by now. So, oh, yeah, disturbing. Let's listen some more. Trigger warning again.
It just makes everyone really sick. Really, really, really sick.
I pray to God, Miss Niles, I pray to God that one mother out there and one father, especially dads who are not in the home, like when the parents are divorced or separated, hear this and understand what's happening in so many homes across our country. Guys, I want you to take a listen to more of what the mom says.
What was she last seen wearing?
Green hoodie.
Green hoodie.
White Crocs.
White Crocs.
Either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts?
Yeah.
Black shorts? Okay. Black shorts. All right. Do you know if she has friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where they live. Okay.
I asked all of them.
And again, I know it's a natural reaction to try to look at the person that's speaking, but there we hear I don't know what to call him, the boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, joining me, an all-star panel, and I'm going to go out to Shannon Butler. He was an investigative reporter, WFTV 9 in Florida. Shannon, thank you so much for being with us. I got to tell you, this new release of documents and information, you've seen a wrecking ball, right? It feels like a giant wrecking ball just hit me in the head when I see what was going on in that home, and I'm hearing the circumstances surrounding this little girl, 13-year-old Maddie's death, her murder. This with the backdrop of the boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, being charged with at least 60 sex counts on children, be it taking videos, pictures, molesting, the whole shebang. And look, the mom did not murder the daughter. He did, according to police. But wow, I mean, letting the fox in the hen house, what was she thinking? And her story completely changed.
And just what you said, same thing. Lamb to slaughter, fox to the hen house. And I am interested what this lady says, because you know, I think she's a psychologist or something. And I mean, women, you guys, I can see there's some people in chat saying Jen didn't know, you know, he groomed her as well. But pay attention, folks, because I hope that Florida makes an example out of Jen and says, pay attention. If you don't know, you should have known.
Right.
Can't help but feel blame toward mommy.
Yeah, I think everybody, I mean, we have been following this case for months, and we've had so many people call and email and say, what are they going to do about Jen Soto? People are angry because of everything that happened before they reported her missing. We still have that piece of the timeline that we don't know yet of what happened between when she sent her daughter up to bed to sleep with Stephen Stearns and then in the morning when he was seen with her inside that car. We have that gap there in that timeline. I think that will tell us some things. We have asked the Kissimmee Police Department time and time again, is there going to be an arrest made of Jen Soto? Because so many people believe that she was complacent in this, that there were things that she did that would have changed the outcome of this situation if she hadn't done it. That timeline we are waiting on and hopefully will tell us more. But at this point, it just doesn't seem like police are moving towards Jen Soto. You know, this is an investigation, Nancy. We've been through this a million, unfortunately, and things can change. But right now, it seems their focus is just on Stephen Stearns. And I know that is what so many people do not want to hear.
To Jarrett Ferentino, homicide prosecutor in Pennsylvania. Jarrett Ferentino.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Go for it.
One of your moderators made an interesting comment. It says, to me, it seems Jen isn't smart or worldly and she has major mental health problems. He clearly took advantage of this situation. And I hear you and I sympathize because I have a soft spot for people who have mental health illnesses or whatever, shortcomings. But that's not an excuse not to protect your child. Not being worldly or too smart. This lady gets up and went to work every day. She did a whole lot more than the megalomaniac psychopath that was her boyfriend. She actually kept a job. All right. She had a duty to protect her daughter. So although I sympathize with what some people are saying as far as, you know, some of the struggles that she dealt with, that means nothing to us. Because if you're going to have a child and you have the choice to bring a child into this world, you have a duty to put that child first. You have a duty to persevere and to make sure that you can give that child a safe environment. Mental health does not give you an excuse to allow your child to sleep with a man that is not her father. That is negligent. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And the only other thing I wanted to say,
it's not just negligent, it's against the law too, but go ahead.
Right.
Thank
the only
you,
other thing I
JoJo,
wanted
for the
to say is, you know, when she said she had an all-star panel, she was a little off because this is the all-star panel right here.
You got it right. Thank you. Yeah, we do know a lot about the case between the two of us. And it's funny. We are the all-star panel, and I love doing collabs with smart people that know what they're talking about. So we will definitely, yes, preach it strategic. Y'all are going to flood his channel now. I know it.
Host of True Crime Boss podcast. Jarrett, thank you for being with us. Jarrett, how many times have you seen it? I've seen it so many times. I'm up to here with it. Mothers that side with the molester. I remember the first time I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I remember the case. I took the case to trial. I got held in contempt, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, mothers, girlfriends, lovers, mistresses siding with the guy that's molesting their child.
Wait. One more time.
Yeah, I'll start.
And we're going to, and I'm sorry, because I know we got a power.
No, you're good.
We can't be here forever. But I remember that the police showed Jen Soto photos that proved that he was molesting the daughter. And if my memory serves me correct, she did not want to believe it. Even after she was shown proof, she said, no, I don't believe it. Until they showed a picture of his penis and said, do you recognize his penis? And she says, yes, I recognize that penis. Right. So she didn't even want to believe it when the police told her and showed her evidence and proof of what this man was doing to the child. Yet we expect her to believe if Madeline told her. No, this woman did not want to believe this. I wholeheartedly believe that there's a possibility that Madeline did tell her, but she said, I don't believe you. And it might be from her personal whatever, I don't know. And then you're in a relationship with a guy who barely sleeps with you, but is always eager to sleep with your child, barely has sex with you, barely sleeps with you, barely is intimate with you, but he always wants to spend time with your child that is not his, and even sleep in the bed. That's an intimate thing. Sleeping in the bed with somebody else, you're vulnerable. So it could be an intimate thing where it's beautiful, like a father and a mother sleeping with their kids. That's perfectly fine, because you can those children can trust that those parents will not hurt them in most instances.
Right.
But he's sleeping with a child that's not his, and she's okay with that, even though he's not interested in her body. He's not interested in her passion. He's not interested in her love and her affection, but he's readily willing to seek that from her daughter. And we're not thinking that, or rather, she didn't believe that that wasn't something that was okay. Something to think
Absolutely not. Let's make an example out of her. If she didn't know, if we're never going to get into her mind. So let's say worst case scenario, she plays it all the way to the end that I didn't know. Or my first reaction was she still broke the law by being negligent, by sending Maddie to bed. And look at the kind of mother that she is. By the way, she missed her birthday party, didn't do anything. She came straight home and said, I'm tired, I'm sending you off to another room. But by the way, where they found lube and a tripod where he films. So yes, I'm serious. They call it room number 4. So he's got his bag. He hasn't been there for over a month, and he's got a bottle of, it's called slow motion or slow lotion or something like that. And she never checked his phone. She never checked his bag. She just sent her daughter to the lion's den.
Yeah, that's negligent.
So,
and I just want to address another comment, and I'm not picking on anybody. I love on my channel to engage in the comment section because you get so much good content from it. Somebody said that, plenty of bio dads are engaging in that type of activity. It's not exactly true. It does happen, absolutely, but you're more the real danger lies with stepfathers and boyfriends and people, definitely people who are in your circle.
Right.
Stranger rapes are rare, but it's definitely people who are in your circle. But fathers do not make up the vast majority of those type of perpetrators. There are people that are not related to the children who are brought into the children's lives based off of, their mothers in most instances. I'm sorry to say it, stepdads, best friends, or, babysitters. You watch the kid, and there's a father there or a boyfriend there that the person knows nothing about, and then that person molests the child. Wow. It's just talking about it breaks the heart. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. It never gets old.
He warmed his way in there. The roommate said that when she lived there in the very beginning, now, mind you, right when she moved out, the picture started. They all 3 slept in the bed together. So he warmed his way up into there. And yeah, I agree. If you're looking at statistically, you're correct on that. It's more likely than not that it's a friend, a dad, a stepdad rather than the biological. Now that does happen, but yeah, statistic wise, you guys, and he knows because he's been working in the system with those crimes particularly. I wish this was a arrest. I wish this was like a conference right now having Jen arrested. I cannot wait.
In this case, the fact that Jen Soto is continuing to protect Stearns, at a minimum, she lied in the of the investigation. And if we've learned anything from the cases we've seen over the past, loved ones who are lying about missing, when there's someone missing, about small details or large details, it's hiding something very big. And she's hiding to protect Stearns and very likely to protect herself. That's the issue here. What is Jen Soto?
Yeah, you know what, Jaron Ferrantino? I want to follow up on something that you just said, lying about details. Okay, let's give her the benefit of the doubt for one moment. See, I'm projecting again. I remember distinctly the last time I saw Keith before he was murdered. I remember what we talked about. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what he was wearing. The whole thing. I remember how cold it was outside that morning in August. I remember everything about it. How does she not remember what happened? So I got a problem with that, but I'm not a shrink. Maybe Dr. Crossan can explain it. To Joe Scott Morgan joining me. Guys, Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, with a state-of-the-art criminal procedure and criminal justice program, author of Blood Beneath My Feet, host of Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. It's a hit podcast.
Yes, we know they're all good.
I could go on and on and on. But what really matters to me about Joe Scott Morgan, he has investigated at least 1,000 unexplained deaths.
And strategic over the last 20 years. A lot of what we're talking about tonight, I'm sure over 1,000.
A lot of cases.
More than I'd like to know about, and more than you probably, when you go to sleep at night, I'm sure you got to shut that down with, you have to see that stuff, right? I had nightmares reading those documents.
You have to watch the investigator on this case. First of all, before I tell you this, I'm pissed off that this guy is putting filters on his photos. That was a filtered photo for Stephen Stern. He looked like a cartoon, not a blemish on his face with the fake whatever. Anyway, back to
it's to appeal to the younger children, and that all those guys that do the googly eyes.
Yeah, of course. But that investigator has the worst job on the planet, but the most necessary job on the planet. He literally, or she, had to watch every single disturbing video front to back, sometimes more than once.
Yep.
In Stephen Stern's phone. And the reason why he had to do that is because he has to take notes, and he has to say, at this time, he put his penis here. At this time, she said this. At this time, you could observe this birthmark on the left thigh of the victim / survivor. You could observe this birthmark or this scar on the penis or the scrotum or the thighs or what. I'm sorry, I'm a little desensitized to it, so I
That's
get
okay.
into the details, and I'm sorry, but that's what you have to do. You have to watch it so that you can see that there's a clock in the corner. Now, maybe in this case, you don't have to get all of those details, but there's some cases where you may not know where it occurred. Right. So especially
strategic,
in cases,
trust me, the paperwork is bad on
very
this
good.
one. Trust me,
they had to do it. But what I'm saying is that there's some cases where you may not know where some of the abuse occurred. So it's even more important for you to make note of what's in the room and what type of sheets so that you could try and triangulate where it happened, because sometimes these abuses happen in multiple areas and you want to find out where each one of those instances occurred, where those crime scenes are. But you have to map it out. You have to watch it, and you have to sometimes watch it multiple times. And that's where the trauma comes in for the investigator, because investigators, they get traumatized too. We have to find ways to decompress. We have to find ways to get that out of our system. I actually think, and this is not available, for my department, we should be forced to see a therapist.
I'm surprised
at least
you're not.
once a year.
I'm surprised you're not. I know only if something like really bad. I'm surprised because
if you get in a shooting, you have to go
yes.
and you have to decompress and whatever. But homicide detectives and sex crimes detectives, it should be a policy that you have to go see a therapist. You have to decompress. You have to, just get some help to find, because there's a lot of tools that we don't know. This is not our expertise. We're not psychologists. There are tools that are out there that helps you process this stuff we may not know about, but a professional might be able to make us aware of. But that detective has a very tough job, and you read it. You have the documents. You saw what that detective had to go through to decipher this crime.
Absolutely. I like this view better. All right. I like seeing your face. So we're going to put you back up a little more. I like everything you've said so far. Give it up for this guy, everybody. Hit that like button if you want him to come back and you want more collaborations. I absolutely think guilty of crime is strategic. True crime equals dream team. Absolutely. All right. Nancy Grace's face looks goofy, so I'm going to hit play.
He has to make the determination about what happened. He is a death investigator. Joe Scott, I'm getting chills on my arms. I'll tell you why. How many child death cases have you seen where there were years of warning signs? Mommy, don't send your little girl to go sleep with your boyfriend. Don't. Hey, why is he even living in the house? Number one. I'd send him back to his mommy and daddy. COD. Right? Bye. That said, why wasn't he at work? What was he doing? How was he benefiting the family at all? The sign. You want to tell me, Joe Scott Morgan?
I have to stop before she continues because he actually wasn't benefiting at all strategic. Just so you know, the roommate that lived there said that she asked Jen, why do you have this guy around? He's a filthy pig, by the way. He's nasty and dirty, doesn't clean up anything, just leaves his food around, rotten old stuff, just nasty, dirty, filthy man, no job ever. And he just sat there playing, watching cartoons and playing video games and painting those damn little toys all day with the Tamagotchis. He did nothing. So that's what he brought to the table. I know more than Joseph Scott Morgan does. And Jen didn't need the money at the time. Later on, they had the whole upstairs, but they had 3 bedrooms by themselves. And Grandpa Juan was downstairs. So they didn't need money to, they didn't need that extra money to and all be in one room or that half room where he was filming stuff with the lube. So, yeah.
But she was a broken person, and she had self-esteem issues, the gastric bypass and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of layers to this as to why she would accept a man like that. And maybe she feels like she didn't deserve better. I'm not making excuses for her, but certainly that, it comes into play,
It does. And it's a good a predator sees its prey and they put their bait out there, and it doesn't matter. There's still no excuses for being negligent. Right. And she also absolutely, unless she was part of the murder, which I don't think that she was part of it anymore at this point, but she still repeated his story and obstructed justice because she could have told them, you know what? I didn't see her that morning. I didn't have anything to do. There's no I'm sorry. I was sleeping and this is what happened. And she never did that on paperwork. I don't see any paperwork that says that so far.
And that was blatant lies there, to say that you saw her. That is obstruction of justice, and I think it's aiding and abetting after the fact.
That too. Yeah, and she was after Maddie was already passed away, all her things. Then she's over there consoling Stephen Stearns, and who knows what that crazy lady was thinking. But let's hear what Joseph Scott Morgan says. I'm curious.
There was no sign this little girl had been being molested since she was at least 8 years old. Nothing. Not even a suspicion.
I agree.
And it happened for years. I mean, the little girl told people, I want to go live in the woods. Why? My daughter, has your son ever said that to you? My daughter and son have never said, I just want to go live alone in the woods. And they really mean it. And they say it over and over for years that they want to get away from home. Joe Scott, you see a dead child's body. And you know, Joe Scott, from all the cases that you have handled and investigated, that this could have been prevented. How do you do it?
How do you do it? Excellent question, because we've seen so many of these things where they just absolutely lose any kind of responsibility. It's just lost out in the weeds. And of course, we have to remember the alleged perpetrator here is whacked out of his mind on benzos. He even says this, he's suffering from terrible anxiety. Yeah, I know why in the hell you're suffering from terrible anxiety at that moment in time when you think, let's just go with this line of thought here.
Hold on. Hold on. I want to, as I say to the twins when they have to go get a tutorial school, suck in all the knowledge you can. So you just said correctly. It's really hard to argue with you when you're mostly always right, Joe Scott. Remember, I put in mostly right there. He's whacked out on benzos. True, he is, because of his anxiety, because he just murdered Madeline there. That's why he's anxious. But he had the wherewithal to dispose of her body, to lie, to come up with all sorts of stories to explain his circuitous route. I don't know how whacked out he really was or how much he just wants us to believe that. And what's a benzo? That's where I was starting.
Yeah, he claims that he's suffering from,
And I agree with her 110% about all of that. I think he was just making it an excuse so the police would think that he cared so much. And he wasn't doing anything, he was just so out of his mind that he couldn't do anything but drop her off at school, come home, do his chores, and then he was done and out of it. He was just making excuses.
Yeah, I don't believe he took a single pill.
I don't
Lying.
believe he did that day at all. I
Mm.
think it happened in the morning around, I'm going to say anywhere between 4:30 and 6 in the morning. He panicked and he needed to get her out of the house before the roommates got up because they went to work. He got her out of the house and then he created himself this terrible alibi and got her on camera and they could see that she was already passed away. So, yeah, I don't believe that either. Anxiety, yes, I would too if I took someone's life and was doing what he was doing to her. Absolutely. All right.
Kind of this anxiety disorder, apparently, that he has to regulate himself with these meds in order to function day in and day out. And I guess that's what you do when you live in mom and dad's basement, or you're the boyfriend that mooches off of a single mom and perhaps is victimizing the deceased here since the age of 8. Since the age of 8, that's what they're saying. And yeah, I can see why you would need benzos on board because this is the ultimate in
What's a
horror.
benzo? What's a benzo?
I'm going to go a little bit more forward. We'll listen to a little more and then we'll talk about, we'll just drop this down and talk about what we think her culpability is by the degree of law, because we're already at an hour and a half and I don't want to be those people that just takes all your time up.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm on vacation.
On vacation working. Yeah, it's not work when you're entertaining and,
Nah, this is
giving
passion.
knowledge.
This is
Yeah,
passion.
it is.
Right?
I agree with that. I agree. All right, let's see who else we got on there. I really wanted to hear the aunt, but she didn't have a big
So much detail, superfluous detail that really comes back to bite them in the neck. For instance, he claims that that morning he and Maddie had to turn around and go all the way back to Kissimmee because they left behind the gate remote to get into their neighborhood. He then claims he had a flat tire. He then claims that he got lost and on the way to taking her to school, and he couldn't recount his exact direction. And this is because police kept asking him questions about where he went that morning and why he was spotted going eastbound on the highway. How does anybody tell that lie, Jarrett Ferrantino?
It's a complete horror show, and he's desperate at that point. He's got to know the gig is up, Nancy. He's in lie upon lie. Anybody in close proximity of a missing child or murder who then claims they were just driving around or has erratic driving patterns, 9 out of 10 times is the person responsible. But you know what I thought was notable about that video we showed initially when they were reporting? He knew exactly what Maddie was wearing, jeans and a green sweatshirt. Mom got it wrong. Mom said she was wearing black shorts. So he was telling the
Yeah, there you go. And that's another point. And look at them. That's him most of the time. But that's another point that was interesting is Jen like almost shut him up when she's like, no, she was wearing black shorts. Why say that? Why does she keep repeating his story? I don't get it.
That's really weird because that's not even what she was actually wearing. It was Stearns who was correct in what she was wearing. So it's like, you know, it's like she's trying hard to be his accomplice. So we should just give her her wish.
Yeah, exactly. Let's give her
like,
her wish and give her and have them both arrested now. No, and she's not out on bail. She never got arrested for anything, folks. And many people theorize that she's not going to be arrested because she was groomed by this guy and she's not smart enough. I'm telling you now, from a person that knows her, that I talk to on a regular basis, that went to lunch with her, hung out with her, lived with her, knew what she was doing. She's not dumb and her IQ's not low. Right. She just either knew what was going on and let it happen so that she can have that man keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Or she just didn't care, or she was part of it. I don't know. I don't know about that being part of it, but the part of it was her letting it happen.
Right.
Well, there's more paperwork coming. Mm-hmm. A lot of paperwork. All right, let's watch this for a minute, and then I want to talk about the charges for her. Everyone wants to hear that.
The truth about certain items and lying about others.
Guys, you are seeing the live-in, Stefan Stearns with the mom. I'm going to go to Dr. Jory Crossan joining us, psychologist, faculty, St. Leo University. You can find him at drjory.com. Dr. Jory, I'm always amazed at the level of detail liars include in their statements. But more fascinating is why women choose to be blind to the molestation of their children and actually side with the predator. I've seen it over and over.
When you look, there's so much to the answering of that question because there's so much involved here. You can see that there's definitely a different type of relationship between the mother and the live-in boyfriend. When that first video, you watch the body language of both of them, they're almost in like support of one another with their story. It's like mother has a knowledge that there's some complicity on her part of this involvement here, and that she may not have all of the information from the boyfriend right now. And so she's kind of almost treading softly, even maybe fearing the worst has happened. But they're complicit in their actions. And I don't think they've gotten time to be alone to either share what's going on. And I don't think that the live-in boyfriend for sure has told the mother that he has killed her daughter.
It's amazing to me that women.
Yeah, that picture right there, strategic, was one that came out a little later. People thought that it only dated back for 2 years. But then when we saw that picture and started backtracking and talking to the roommate, etc., we realized it'd been happening closer to 5 years.
Yeah.
So most of the pictures with them involved revolves around Stefan and Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that they did have time to talk about it because they're both saying the same story. And Jen, I think she thought she was in trouble, and that's why she kept saying we, because she wanted to sound like she was more involved. Right. So she may not have known about the passing, but she knew something was happening and she was going to be in trouble.
That's possible. You know, that, hey, I didn't do anything this morning, but maybe they'll find out that I was complicit in what has been happening for 5 years. Because we're talking about, and, you know, all these shows, the news, we're talking about what happened on that day.
Exactly.
When this is a crime that has been happening for years. The only difference between that day and every other day that this young lady had to suffer under this man's tyranny is that he decided to take her life that day. You know, so
absolutely.
That's I don't have access to the phone. I don't even want to have it. I got enough trauma to deal with. If I'm the one who's bringing this case to a district attorney, I'll accept that trauma. But
hey,
since I'm not it, I don't want to see that phone, right?
I don't either, and that paperwork is bad enough. Trust me, I had bad nightmares from reading it, and I do think that she knew something happened that day, because why even blurt out about sending them to the other room? What does it have to do with her missing right now that she sent them to the other room? She knew in the back of her mind that she said it over and over about them sleeping together. Why say that?
Right.
What does it have to do with her missing? I don't understand.
You know, I want to know just how many encounters that they were able to record record on their documents from his recordings and his text messages and his
was
photos.
every Monday and Friday most of the time, except on Wednesdays a few occasions for 5 years
on the record. So that makes my point, and that makes your point.
Right.
It's impossible that we can have thousands of documented instances of abuse and mommy would not have caught on to at least one. Statistically, it's almost impossible.
Right.
It's almost impossible. She didn't come check a door and the door was locked, or the door was open and she saw some, or the door was locked and she's hearing hustling of getting themselves together.
Right.
And then it's like he opens the door, what's going on? And she's like, what's happening here? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you actually see the crime happening. It could just be those weird things that make you say something's happening here that's inappropriate. It's impossible that you just described to me, because you've seen those documents, thousands of instances of abuse, and mommy did not catch on to at least one. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And if it is true, Jay, that is the definition of negligence, because you should have known.
Exactly. There you go. Right there, folks. The definition of negligence right there. And I do believe arrests are an arrest is coming for Jen, and I'll be happy with the whatever they can get her and for it to stick, so that we know that she's a felon with neglect, should never be around a child, aiding and abetting, and obstruction of justice. Those are the three things, and we'll talk about that in a little bit
something
here.
out there
But
for you real quick. Let me throw
yeah,
something out there before you go
absolutely.
forward. One of your subscribers says, I think he was selling images for money in that person's opinion. Big shout out to me for contributing. I don't know. That's a possibility. But I do want to let your audience know these guys keep trophies. So having 1,700, 10,000, a million photos does not necessarily mean that he's giving it to other people. They keep trophies and they use those trophies. So he used her on Mondays and Fridays and sometimes Wednesdays, you said, or something to that effect. Well, guess what?
Yes.
He's using those photos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those guys keep trophies and they use those trophies for their own personal gratification.
There you go. And I believe that. Yes. If someone says I've never taken 1,700 photos of myself in that life, that was a lot of pics.
Because you're not a
Absolutely right.
psychopath. We hope you're not a psychopath. That's why.
Yeah. And if you are, just be one to yourself, okay?
Right. And turn yourself in.
Or get a YouTube channel, those narcissist channels. You know, I'm a defined narcissist, whatever. Here are the signs. All right. Does he have a lawyer yet between self-snitching and digital evidence? How can he? Of course, he has a lawyer. They assigned him a lawyer immediately.
The moment he was indicted, he gets a lawyer. The moment you indict somebody, you automatically get a lawyer, no matter what state.
Yeah, mommy and daddy are not paying for this one, folks. This would be hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend for no reason. And they don't need Jen for this either. They're using her, in my opinion, if they're using her to fill in blanks, and that's it. Like the Adelsons.
They're not using her. She has an attorney.
Exactly.
They're
They're not using her.
Don't talk. Unless
they
there's
don't need her.
Unless there's an immunity deal, she can't help the police in any way, because whatever she helps them with, that might, if it incriminates her, it could be used against her. So if she is cooperating, so she has some type of immunity. But in this case, we have two separate cases here. We have a child sex abuse case. We have a homicide. The homicide, you know, they're getting their facts together. We all know he did it, but there's still things you can defend against. The child sex abuse case is a slam dunk. And it just so happened in the state of Florida, the penalty is up to death. So they don't need Jen Soto for anything they found in that phone. That phone is irrefutable. He's guilty as sin. They have him in the pictures.
Yeah, the only thing they need to know about that phone is, did you ever look in it, and why not? And a benzo is anything that is like an anxiety pill. It could be a Xanax, it could be an Ativan. I think it could anything that for anxiety is what a benzo is. It like knocks you out, which he probably was using on Maddie. They will probably find something in her system because she was a little girl. He was a big man. 6'2", 250 pounds. There's damage to a body when you're doing that for years. Believe that. I see my daughter on a regular basis when she comes home with a scratch from school, and I'm like, what happened to you? By the way, 888 folks. So say a prayer for Maddie and complete and utter justice. There's 895 people in chat. It just jumped up. Thank you all, and please hit that like button. So yeah, I see everything on my daughter's body. I don't see how she didn't see. You know what happens? Stretch marks, bruises, and I'm talking about the essay things here. What he was doing to her, a big man like that. You don't tell me that there wasn't damage done to that little girl's body, and it's terrible. But I'm just bringing facts. Yeah, justice for Maddie. We have a little bit more to go on this, and we'll talk about the complete justice for Maddie would be getting Jen arrested.
What they originally arrested Stephen Stern,
in my
it wasn't
opinion,
until later that they filed those murder charges. But those videos gave them a very good indication of what was going on since she was 8 years old, and that gave them plenty to go on to start to look at other things.
What was she last seen wearing?
Green hoodie.
Green hoodie.
White Crocs.
White Crocs.
Either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts?
Yeah.
Black shorts? Okay. Black shorts. All right. Do you know if she has like friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where she lives. Okay.
That's weird.
I asked all of them.
Guys, I've been looking at the particular charges, and I want to go straight out to Jarrett Fiorentino, former homicide prosecutor in Pennsylvania. There's so many to look at. There's 60 charges, but I'm looking, of course, there's all the sex batteries on a child under 12. So we know the claims go back for years. I believe they go back to age 8 for this little girl. But listen to this, Jarrett. Unlawful possession of materials depicting a sex performance by a child. That says to me there's a strong possibility he actually videoed the sex abuse on Madeline.
Of course he did.
Nancy, that is certainly a possibility based on the charges against him at this point. And it could even go to motive, intent, and opportunity to have killed Maddie to cover up what he was doing. I also note recovered in this vehicle was a phone tripod used for filming, which, again, that's just my mind assessing the evidence and looking at what was recovered here. It's not too much of a leap to think that somebody collecting child sexual abuse materials wouldn't be documenting the abuse he's committing on Maddie. So those charges may be just that.
To Teresina Niles, this is Maddie's aunt. Teresina, what is your message to parents?
And we're going to finish up after she's done talking, and then we'll put our opinions. Distribution's a possibility. We're never going to find out about that if he's using an encrypted app, folks. I told you before, we learned from, shout out to Oblivious Benson, that you, in order to get something, you have to give something. So the reason he was showing a picture of himself and marks on himself, if he was sending it to Telegram to get other children's pictures, he had to make sure that he was giving them something and they had to know it was him and not, he wasn't just pulling it off of somewhere. Did you know that, Strategic, about those websites?
Yeah, I don't particularly deal with the children's stuff.
Right.
I investigate 13 and up.
Okay.
So I haven't come across with the Telegram stuff. I have done some some trafficking stuff like that, but haven't dealt with the Telegram stuff. That usually goes to our human trafficking unit.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because it's so encrypted. It was used for businesses and such in the beginning. Of course, there's a lot of corruption everywhere, and so that's going to be hard. Everyone's saying selling, distribution, whatever.
But wouldn't he have material that he received in return?
And he didn't. You're right, and he didn't because they ruled that out in the beginning.
Right.
But he could have just seen it on the site. He might not have downloaded it. He might have just been able to see it.
Yeah, but these guys are collectors. They want to take it, unless there's some type of software limitation to allowing him to download it. But they're collectors. They want to take it. Also, if he's selling, they'd easily be able to follow the trail of the money. Unless he's so sophisticated, he's got Bitcoin and stuff like that.
No,
then you don't know. If he's not that sophisticated, they would be able to see the transactions coming in. Also, you can see when the files are modified or when they're, you can't see where it's sent to, but you can see that the phone was instructed to give it to this app, so I don't want to get in too much in the weeds because sometimes bad guys watch this stuff too. But
yeah, no, and I appreciate that. Yeah, Oblivious Benson goes into that quite a bit heavily. So that's, we'll leave it at,
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I just don't feel, I'm not sold yet on
I'm not
the
either
distribution aspect.
Yeah, me either. Not even a little bit. Right at the beginning, they ruled that out, and they ruled it out for a reason. So I'm not sold on that either. He was getting money selling those stupid little things that he was painting. They were $60 or $70 a piece. He had them on eBay. His parents were giving him money. Jen was supporting him. I don't think that he was making money off of Maddie. Thank you, Charcoal Daisy from Australia. It looks like for a while you've been commented before in recovery and surgery, felt compelled to reinforce what an angel advocate you are for Maddie. Thank you, and God bless sweet Maddie. And thank you, Strategic, for making some sense of this today, because it's one of those cases that doesn't make sense, and we're trying to make sense of it, and we're waiting patiently for justice to unfold. Right. So let's finish this with Teresina, and then we'll give our thoughts.
Listening tonight.
When Maddie passed away, at the funeral, we all went as a family and promised her that she didn't die in vain, and I wanted to work really hard and ensuring that with, you know, taking care of being strong for my family and also being strong for her. I know that since this has all started and happened, I've worked with many advocates that are local in Florida, and they've really helped kind of bring all these communities that have reached out to my family and I, supporting us during all of this.
Jenny, shout out.
And it's solely on Maddie's behalf, and it hasn't gone unnoticed for sure.
It's amazing to me that you and Maddie's father can put one foot in front of the other. I want to thank you for being with us today and sounding the warning for other parents out there, because Maddie never mentioned any of this to her father. He didn't see any signs, not just him. You didn't. The stepmom didn't. The teachers didn't. Very rarely do child molestation victims actually speak out. They think it's all their fault and they're embarrassed. So they go to great lengths to actually cover it up. And I hope her dad knows that. Guys, I want to report that this is a death penalty case.
Good.
They're in Florida. And Florida typically doesn't just give the sentence.
All right, we're going to drop her out and give our opinions now. And we don't need Nancy Grace anymore. Thank you, Nancy, for giving us Terina. And we'll do our thoughts here on Jen and arrest Jen, hashtag arrest Jen Soto. We would feel a lot better if she was behind bars. What do you think? I know you have a strong opinion as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did some digging in the Florida penal codes. I got to say, their codes are very, no disrespect to Florida, but it's very convoluted. The way they have it laid out is a little difficult to understand. I wish they clean it up a little bit, but what I pretty much came away with is one of the main charges I think she should be charged with is the negligent child abuse charge. And I feel that, you know, that charge pretty much encompasses whether she knew, she still falls under that charge. And if she didn't know, she still falls under that charge, because it was her duty to provide care and a safe environment to that child. And let me see if I can pull it up here so I can read it for you.
That would be fantastic.
What it says.
If y'all just heard that, if she knew, she's still liable for it. If she didn't know, she's still liable for it, folks. So all the naysayers, yes, negligent and we'll let strategic.
So in a Florida penal code, they define child neglect, which is the charges this falls under, as occurs when a caregiver fails to provide a child with the supervision, services, and care necessary to maintain the child's mental and physical health, or when a caregiver fails to make a reasonable effort to protect a child from exploitation, abuse, or neglect by another person. So you don't have to know what's happening. You should know, because we're all these laws that we have in America are assuming what a normal person would do. We don't give you a pass because you want to live your life abnormally or outside of the scope of what we consider normal civil things, right? So she should have known that it's not appropriate to allow your child to go sleep with your boyfriend. She should have known that was inappropriate. And I think that she should be charged for the child neglect. I think she should be charged with aiding and abetting him after the fact. I think that those lies were too blatant. They were too blatant. You know, there were lies that most reasonable people would not have told. Lies such as, you saw your daughter the morning of her death. That is
a big deal.
A cover-up. Yeah, that's basically a cover-up. You're basically making that statement to help the perpetrator get away with a crime, because you're being an alibi for him. You're saying, no, she couldn't have died in the house. I saw her, you know?
Right.
And when you say she was wearing this outfit, you're throwing the officers off, because now we're going out there looking for a kid with this outfit that you described to us with the black jogging shorts, when in all actuality, the child is wearing something totally different. When you're looking at video, when you're looking for video surveillance and stuff like that, sometimes all you can make out are the distinctive sneakers or the distinctive coat color or pant color. So if you send me on a wild goose chase telling me to look for green when I should be looking for black, or black instead of green, guess what?
Yes.
You are aiding and abetting this person. You're helping them because I may miss something that might help me solve this case because I'm looking for something that doesn't exist, something you sent me to look for. So I think those are two big things that she should be charged with, because regardless of what her explanation is, a reasonable person would not say when their child is missing, when we're trying to find a child that has not been determined to be dead or even sexually abused at that point, we're trying to find your child. Why did you tell us as law enforcement, as society, all of us? Why did you tell us these lies that she told? She's got to explain it. And I don't know if there could be a proper explanation that could get her off the hook for that.
And I hope not, because even if she explains it, even if she says now, you know what, I lied because he told me that story and I trusted him and I sent her to bed with him because I trusted him, you still broke the law, period, end of story. And that's what we're talking about today. It doesn't matter what you think or that she knew. She blatantly lied. She told the story multiple times, the same as him. And they could have found Maddie faster had she said, you know what, I didn't see her. I sent them to bed that night. I know I shouldn't have been doing that.
Right.
But she was trying to get herself off the hook too.
Right.
And I even bring that up. What did it have to do? Oh, she saw her birthday gifts, whatever. Why bring up unless you thought something was going to be found about them sleeping together? Bless you.
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah. And just to buttress what you're saying, you know, if she, you know, first of all, they should have been separated. So, but you know, when you get to like the patrol level, you're always going to get these little mistakes because those patrol officers don't get the extensive training that you get when you work in specialized units or you're a detective or whatever. So they should have been separated. Now that is a policy for domestic violence, but it should be a policy, and it's just smart policing when you're getting information like the information that they were obtaining and you see the demeanor of this guy. You're just like, you know, let me separate them. But anyway, my point is, if they were separated and she says, you know what, and she never told the lies she told, first of all, and she says, you know what, I was sleeping. His story sounds kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on. I like that guy. I love him or whatever, but I just want to find my daughter. It would have actually made the police move even faster, because if you're telling me that you don't trust the person who's the last person to see this guy, I'm automatically going in overdrive. All right. They made their way towards Stephen Stern based off of his statements not making sense, but they made their way there gradually. And their gradual was great timing, not taking anything away from that police department.
No, they did a great job.
Stellar job. But they would have made their way even faster if mommy was on board with the police by saying his story doesn't make any sense. We need to look more into him, rather than let me make statements that actually helps him in those critical moments.
And let me shack up with him at a hotel while you're investigating my daughter's disappearance and then ultimately her demise. So there's another thing is people are saying, oh, you know, after she talked to the cops, she changed her story and she told them, you know, after she told them that those statements, she still went and stayed in a hotel with him on the 28th in one room and then the dad in another. So she's still all the way up until the fact that he got arrested for her daughter's all the assault charges and her death ultimately. That was up until the time she was supporting him.
And let's add to that, when they sat her in the room and showed her his penis assaulting her child.
Yes.
She said, I don't believe it.
She did. They had to show her multiple pictures. I read that. They had to show her one with a mole. I think the first time there was like a pink spot on it. And until they showed us a certain angle and the mole is when she's like, yeah, that's his. And then still absolutely. Everybody's like disgusted. Yeah, everybody. And I'm glad that you guys, that you can see that there's two sides to the story, whether she knew or whether she didn't know, she's still culpable. And all of you or anybody that does this should be.
Right.
Parental alienation is very dangerous. Everyone involved. Jen decided to do that with Maddie's stepmother and father. And you're absolutely right. And there's a reason for it. It could be that he had a pretty wife and she was mad, or Maddie looked like the dad. Doesn't matter. I'm here to say for Tyler and Tatiana, they loved that little girl and they did not do their part.
Right.
So
right. And we make it impossible in America for fathers to get, and I'm not trying to make this into a political thing, but it's very difficult for a father to get custody of their child if you cannot prove that the mother is a danger to the child. It's very difficult. I've seen cases, and I don't specialize in this, but I've seen cases in my personal life with my friends in my circle where mothers who were on drugs were allowed to keep their kids so long as, you know, they looked like they were trying to get help. Well, I went to rehab, so oh yeah, you still have full custody. You know, and the father is hardworking person. It is what it is. We don't have a perfect system, you know, and that's just no country, no place has a perfect system. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially when you're a military person, you live in a different state, you don't have the ability to just choose where you live because you got to go where the military tells you to live. And at the same time, you're trying to build your life, and what you need for your life may not be available in Florida. You know, so we have to think outside of the box.
Yeah. It's a tall order, and I've seen it happen with my brother multiple times. He has 2 kids with different moms, and it doesn't matter how much he cared, how much support he had. They gave the kid to the drug addict mom that was out there selling her ass for $1. So every time, I've seen it twice over the last 25 years. All right, folks.
And we never talked about this.
Get the bad.
So
yeah,
I gave you that example, and we never spoke about this. And
no,
look,
we didn't.
This is a real life example that you're giving, which is exactly what I said. Because
men get the bad rap. It happens. Yeah, I've seen it happen to my brother over and over. It just, they don't even care. The woman just opens the fridge and it's like, oh, there's some milk and bread and cheese. Oh, you're a caring father that has a lot of support. Here, mom, go for it.
Yep.
I know. I've seen it. I hate
Very
that.
sad.
It is. It is. Yeah. Hide and seek. I can't wait for the perp walk as well. And yeah, fathers do get a raw deal. So I just, wrapping this up, I want to say, I don't want to see any comments because they'll get deleted anyway. Let's not try to shame Tyler anymore than I've seen. Where's the dad? I'm telling you where the dad was, where he is, and what his situation was, and how hard it was.
And let me just also say this, right? So let's say dad lived in Florida. What is he supposed to do? Mommy has every right to date somebody. Well, you know, how does he stop it? Unless, of course, you know, the daughter comes forward and says, hey, this is happening to me. But
that's
how
the
does
only way.
He doesn't live in the house. So how does he know who's going to sleep where, who's doing what vacations they're going? He has no right to stop him. And guess what? If he's overzealous, if he's up in the business,
aggressive,
exactly,
then they're gonna give him less
order
time.
protection, or supervised visitation. He's stalking me, he's harassing me.
You're right. Absolutely right. And when you're in a different state too, the laws are crazy because you got different laws in Texas and you can't afford the lawyer in Florida, and then you got to travel. My brother had to move to Georgia to get his daughter, and then the baby mama, we're going to call her, kidnapped the daughter, but they didn't establish rights yet. So my brother hasn't seen his daughter in 2 years, and he's stuck out in Georgia right now. From all the way from California to Georgia, and hasn't seen his daughter in 2 years. That probably, if she's seen him, she won't even recognize him anymore. And he took care of her the whole time. So I've seen it, folks. And for people to say anything about Tyler or any dads that do really try, unlike my father, yeah, he's a way better dad than a lot of dads that I've seen. So I'll vouch for what I heard.
I have to show love to my dad, though. He's the best dad I could ever ask for. Now that I'm age 40. Oh yeah, he calls me all the time. Where were you at for 39 years, brother? Come on, man.
Hey, maybe you dodged a bullet on that one, right? Yeah, my dad didn't come around till a certain age too, and then when he found out that I was dating a woman, that was unacceptable, and he dropped out again. So his loss,
he'll be back when he's like 80.
Yeah. When he's on his deathbed and he's like, damn it.
They get super old, and then they start thinking of, wow, my life is so empty. Not to turn it into some crazy conversation, but
no, I know.
We both share that. That's what happened with my father.
Common.
Not 40, but like, when I'm in my like early 30s, now he wants to reconnect, and it's like, dude, come on, but me personally, it's like, I don't want to have that negative energy in my life. So I'll forgive you. I won't forget, but I'll forgive you, and I'll have a cordial relationship with you. But I think the justice is that they always find out what they missed out on. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what your sexual orientation is, whatever, you're his daughter, and he missed out on such a precious moment because of ideology.
For no reason. Yeah.
Ideology.
Yeah.
And would he have preferred you to be straight and meet some dude who's beating you every day? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
you're happy.
Oh no, he's not a happy guy. So some people are better off.
Yeah.
But like I said, Tyler wasn't that father. If Tyler was that father, would have went to the ends of the earth for Maddie if he could have. And he did what he could. I mean, I saw how broken up he was, and even Tatiana, this like unbelievable. They would have took her in a heartbeat, but Jen got money for her. It was all about the paycheck, and then she's autistic. You get even more money then.
Right.
So
I don't think she was autistic.
she wasn't. I'm telling you right now.
I don't think nothing was wrong with that girl. She was just living through trauma, the most horrible trauma anybody could experience. This girl still woke up every single day, went to school, and tried to smile for her friends. Everything that they said was wrong with her was nothing that was wrong with her for herself. It was the trauma that they were putting her through. That's what that was.
That's what I agree on. I agree on that too. I mean, you can't even imagine that kind of trauma and then having to deal with life. JPL is so weird. Every time I see someone say right or giving some props, I immediately think of Donnie Wells. Sorry, Cyber Sleuth. All right, JPL. I always see you in chat, so I had to shout out. And a crime to remember. I always like to shout you out. Mine found me after years of being away. Only after a child's death was a high profile. Yeah, that happens, but we're better off without them, and the world works in mysterious ways. And thank you to the deadbeat father of my son, because he was a sperm donor and we didn't have to pay for that one. So there you go. My daughter we paid for, my son we didn't have to. So 2 moms, and we've got great kids. So all these different perspectives, and Tyler wasn't any of those. I assure you. I wouldn't and that's what I wanted to bring tonight. I wanted to bring Maddie's side of the family and let everyone know. So all the speculation, I think they missed the early parts of the case now that everybody's joined. And I wanted to collab with Strategic. So now we have. You have any thoughts you want to say? And then we'll wrap this up. We're over 2 hours, which is a good one.
Yeah, no, I'm just, I think it was a great show. I really had a great time collaborating. I'm always here to collaborate if you want to collaborate in the future. You have a really good platform. You have amazing fans, and I call them contributors. You have amazing contributors in your chat, and it's been great. So, we are True Crime with Strategic. We're all about true crime. That's all we want to talk about. I just want to leverage my expertise to try and help in these cases. Because what I've noticed is that sometimes true crimers help solve these cases. There's so many examples of that. So I want to be a part of the solution, and I want to be a great communicator, and I hope I'm doing a good job, and there's always room to grow. But thank you so much for this opportunity. So yeah, man, it was great being a part of your family for the night and talking about this important issue, man. Heartbreaking.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it is very heartbreaking, and this wasn't a light topic tonight. I thank you, Key, for bringing together Mr. Strategic and myself, and we will definitely do more in the future, depending on after you're done with your vacation. Strategic, you let me know, and we'll work some things out. I think people like seeing this collab, and what knowledge I have and your knowledge, makes a great show and real information, folks. Thank you, Honey Bun, for the gifted Guilty of Crime Crew official membership. So yeah, that's what it's all about. And if we can help anybody That's one person helps. That's all I want to do. And strategic as well. So if the mods haven't already dropped his links, please do. Yes, Aki, I see you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody, I'm sure, subscribe to your channel already. Strategic. He has great content over there, by the way. You're not going to be bored by any means, and you're going to be filled with knowledge. So yeah, we appreciate you for being here tonight. And yeah, everybody, we love you. And I think on that note, it's Saturday night, 9:30. I'm gonna go see what my daughter's doing.
Sounds good.
And you're still on vacation, but it was a great show, and let's do it again.
Absolutely.
You let me know your availability, all right?
Sounds good.
I'm here. All right, you have a good night. And everybody, on that note, hashtag arrest Jen Soto. Peace out to everybody. Guilty of crime.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?